Did you actually recommend this to me?
Dula Peepa, Dula Peep, I'm sorry. Dula Peep, Dula Peep, Dula Peep, Dula Peep, Dula Peep, Dula Peep, Dula Peep.
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Duke of Italy. Today, we're covering Future Nostalgia by Dua Lipa. Look, I'm taller. Dua Lipa, pop star from the UK, released her album earlier this year, Future Nostalgia. And the goal of this album was to actually make a nostalgic sound, calling back upon themes of disco and funk. Did it succeed? So the label Warner released this year, and Dua Lipa would describe this as dark pop. Well, it's not like as bright as electropop typically would be, thinking of my personal experience here with Miranda Cosgrove, but I can quickly see that it's nothing like that. And what we got here is it's a little different, and a lot of people rave about this album. They think it's pretty good, and you're gonna see I disagree on a lot of fronts. There are a lot of singles on this album that I find have their strengths and the weaknesses. And you know what? Let's just cut to the chase and see how she executed this thing. So we start off with the title track, Future Nostalgia, and I'm already really confused. So the way she delivers her lyrics here, they're kind of like half rapping, but it's the goal is, I think, of her to sound smooth or suave, and it doesn't really convey really well. I thought the chorus was pretty good, but on the post-chorus, it was very, very pretentious for an album coming out. That's only a second release. I mean, Dua Lipa, you haven't been in the game that long. Maybe like 3 years? So like you're not changing things that drastically. I thought the bridge was pretty great, especially with the instrumentals. The voice that says future nostalgia over and over, it's a little Daft Punkish. It seems pretty pointless though. And I'd say the lyrics, while they meant pretty much nothing, this is a very generic let's dance and have a good time song. They were just generally inoffensive. So we start the album off pretty much as generic can get, definitely with a couple weak points here. Fortunately, it does get better later on, but you're going to see the rest of this track listing is pretty spotty. So now we reach the legendary Don't Start Now. Now, this is the song that's on TikTok. Can't believe I'm mentioning TikTok on this channel. That's what this is from. People know this song from TikTok. It's the full 180 song. And I have a lot of issues with this that a lot of people would find unrecognized. I'm not saying it's a bad song. I'd say it's an okay song. There's a motif that's explored on this album probably 2 or 3 times, that there's a driving funky bass line. And here I'd say it's one of the weaker times it's attempted. Just the tone used is it's a little squeaky, a little buzzy. It's not the tone I necessarily want. It doesn't pop at all. It's not like it's someone slapping. It's not too complex. It's very much trying to be Tame Impala here, because Dua Lipa looks exactly like the kind of person who listens to way too much Tame Impala. But it's like someone described the less I know the better, and was like, yeah, I can do that, and then they just send this in. Another issue I have a lot with this song is that the intro, even though it's only like 3 seconds, it's very much just phoned in. What do I do for an intro? Like maybe I could have a bass line leading up, or like some drum hits here and there, but it's just like piano chord, refrain that's like pseudo spacey, and then it's just the song, and it's just like, well, there you go, bombs away, have fun. Speaking of the refrain, or the pre-chorus, depending on how you look at it, it's so bland and commercial. And the thing is, the point of the refrain is to build and transition to the next part, but the energy is not there. Just the funk is not there. I'm not feeling it. I'm gonna be honest. I would be lying if I said I didn't enjoy this chorus. This song, as a single by a pop star, was so clearly chorus driven. It's meant to be the hook. It's meant to be, oh, kids remember the song as Don't Start Now, or Don't Show Up even. That's how probably, like, someone could hear this on the radio and be like, oh yeah, Don't Show Up, that's a good song. Or Full 180, good song. It's so obviously like an attempted like seizure of being commercial that it just comes off as just blah. Like, this is not, you're not trying to make art here. You're not trying to make music here. But it does succeed in being funky. I like the chorus. Not a great song, but as a single, I understand why. Next song is cool. It's just kind of a love song, I guess. The lyrics are very generic, and that shows very true on the verse and the pre-chorus. And there's this auto-tuned effect that seems to trail after her voice. It's almost inaudible. Just the fact that I heard it, like I was begging for it to be just more, because I'm like, that had so much potential with it, but they just didn't really give it to me. I'm not sure why. The instrumentals on the chorus and the bridge were pretty good. The whole lyrical metaphor used in the chorus, it just gets kind of lost for me. And the biggest crime of the song overall is that it's just kind of boring. It never once really grabbed me. Just even the point where it reminded me of Daft Punk is just kind of by, like it fades way too fast. It's filler, is what it is. It's filler. This next song, Physical, has a really good intro. The synths are very, very new wave-ish, almost synth wave-ish. They're funky, kind of dark, which when Dua Lipa described this album as dark pop, this is the song that would really represent it. I wish that the synths were pulsating just as much on the chorus, though. It seems that like the fact that they faded on the chorus, the song didn't seem like it was driving as hard. Unfortunately, after halfway through the song, when you start paying attention to the lyrics, the flaws of the song become much more upfront. The Olivia Newton-John sample of Let's Get Physical, it's an interesting touch, it's an interesting sample, but the rest of the lyrics are just beyond derivative. It's just kind of, well, here's your pop song. We're approaching slowly the B-sides here, and right now we have the song Levitating. So while Don't Start Now was previously the strongest song on this album so far, it now gets overtaken by this song. The sort of looping intro I found very appealing. The bass is finally funky. It's not just kind of thrown in there. I felt like there was actual motive towards it. I thought the way she paced her lyrics was very nice. The way it was almost like flow switch ups just all over, and it really broke up the pacing. I liked it a lot. It seemed like a way to give pop a little more of a bite. The post-chorus had the synth strings that were nice, very, very disco here. And the bridge, while lyrically super dumb, it was so fun that I didn't really care. So yeah, we're starting to pick up the pace of the album a little bit more here towards the B-sides. It really increases in quality, I'd say. Now we reach the song Pretty Please. And just up front, this is the best track on the album. This is the daydream of this album. Just so beyond the quality of the previous pieces that it's a little bizarre to me. First of all, Dua Lipa's vocals sound better than they ever have here. The bass riff, while admittedly it's simple, but it's highly effective. I wish the tone had a little bit more treble, but it was pretty much fine. Or if it just had some change. The tone didn't exactly sit right with me. But I gotta admit, this song was incredibly sexy. Like just listening to it, it was so smooth and it came across so well. And it didn't have to be like Talking Heads where it's so bizarre that it appeals to you in that way. But no, this song was legitimately felt attractive and smooth. The slow shift from the pre-chorus and the actual chorus itself was perfection. And the glitchy effects on this song, don't even get me started. As a fan of Sweet Trip, these were killing me. I was loving them. I'm all over this song. Absolutely check out this song. If you don't trust a lot of pop music, this is definitely a song that you're going to like. The experimental qualities of the song are just so impressive for the album that we have here. Now we reach Hallucinate, and I gotta say, the bass riff on this track doesn't drive necessarily as much as Pretty Please, but it's still somewhat effective. And I also have to admit, the drum patterns definitely leave something to be desired. I felt like they were just not enough to them. But the strings that come in and the spaced out vocals definitely pick the song right back up. I'd say on the chorus, the instrumentals were mostly fine, lyrics were pretty average, but there are these shimmering synths in the background that were a good touch, and you can kind of pick them out a little bit, but they definitely add back to the song. My biggest issue with the song is that it goes, and the chorus goes, and then just bam, French Revolution style, just guillotined off, the song's done. It doesn't even have an outro. It's just, it keeps going and going. You're dancing, you're vibing, and then it's gone. Like it never even happened. Unfortunately, the strengths of the album kind of end there, just where it once was really strong going ahead. We start seeing that the album gets pretty tired at this point. Like the singles are done, the ideas are not as new, and then all the eggs are put in the last two songs in terms of ideas. But we're not there yet. First, we have Love Again. So every issue that I just explained is in this song. It's very generic in terms of Dua Lipa. Everything that was explored on this track has been explored before and kind of better. My biggest issue is that the verse and the chorus and also the pre-chorus, they don't seem to match as well. While the chorus seems to have a little more of a low-key effect, the verse, she's trying to sing higher on like all these notes. It seems like she's just kind of picking notes that are technically in the key, but it's just like, oh, what if I go here and then way up here and then over here? And I just thought, well, what if you stuck a little lower? Like, I know you're not Billie Eilish, I know you're not supposed to be Lamau, I'm depressed, but you didn't really need to be riffing this much. It's just kind of unnecessary. Honestly, this song drags. It's the longest song on the album at about, I think, over 4 minutes. Well, every other song is 3.5 minutes or less, which I hate saying because I like prog. Like, my favorite song is 18 minutes long, but I'm thinking a 4.5 minute song is dragging because really it's just like, you want a longer song? Fine. Here's another chorus. And it's just, well, you didn't have to do that. That already was here, and it's not adding anything new. And this is probably one of the biggest crimes of the album. While the whole rest of the album, in my opinion, showed a critical flaw that nothing was given time to marinate or build nearly as much. It's shown in this song that Dua Lipa doesn't know how to do that. The thing is, Dua Lipa is a pop artist at her core. Like, she's very much verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, chorus, and then the song is done. And there was no intro either. It's just, you get what you get. Which sometimes it's just fine the way that is, but it never works to her advantage. Of course, there was a couple tracks that the intro was good here, but it's not happening right now. Anywho, that's enough about that song. Next, we're on to Break My Heart. And in terms of lyrical themes, I thought the idea here was pretty interesting. The neo-disco instrumentals were pretty effective here. The harmonies on the chorus were also pretty good. Unfortunately, on the verses, at least on the first verse, I found some serious flaws with how the instrumentals were mixed here. You see, they started off way too drowned out by Dua Lipa's voice, where I was just like, where's that coming from? But halfway through the verse, they just keep increasing in gain and going until at the end of it, I'm like, where's Dua Lipa? She was here overshadowing this just a second ago. It's like she was swallowing the instrumental, but now the instrumentals are swallowing her. Like, that's part of what I'm thinking with the balance between the first and the second verse. Like, the second verse obviously shows what it could have been, and I appreciate the change in dynamics, that you're adding something a little more interesting to your song here. But the first verse, it wasn't effective. I think you could have maybe just made a more minimalist yet upfront approach to your instrumentals here. We've reached the cap on this album here with the songs Good in Bed and Boys Will Be Boys, which, as much as I hate agreeing with Anthony Fantano, just because I think myself that, like, oh, I agree with him way too much and I need my own opinions, I cannot agree with him more here. These songs are the worst on the album. So the first song here is Good in Bed. It's from a perspective of a woman. Same, I don't know if it's meant to be Dua Lipa, but it's technically a story here. It's basically saying that a relationship has fallen apart and they're only sticking together because they're so good at loving each other that it's just, that's how they're getting by. Is this a good message? No. It's quite a weird message. In fact, I can honestly say it was uncomfortable for a lot of it. And I can appreciate a song that has a little more bite. Like Pretty Please earlier was so sexy. I'm like, dang, you're flooring me here. But right now, it's kind of ew. So the riffing on the pre-chorus I found super unnecessary, harking back to a previous song here. But I was just like, why? You don't have to do that. It's just kind of flexing for no reason. The chorus sucks. No pun intended if you know the song. But I don't even remember the words here. I blocked the song out of my memory. But she'll like take a word and then repeat over and over again. I'll show right here, but oh man. The instrumentals leave a little bit to be desired here, but they weren't necessarily killing me. On the bridge, not once, but twice does Dua Lipa rhyme mad, bad, and sad. Why do I even do this? Why do I even review music for you guys? Yeah, I'd say this song's a skip, but the next song isn't... it's not good either. So we got the song Boys Will Be Boys. So when you hear the title Boys Will Be Boys, the assumption by most people is that this song would be about basically women having to protect themselves, essentially. But the thing is, that's not all the song's about, because it compares that theme with the theme on the second verse, that women don't need to be explained things to. And I don't, like, I'm not a woman, so my perspective on this is not like don't follow my perspective too closely there. But I feel like that comparison is completely unfair and kind of awful. Like it just seems insensitive. She mentions mansplained, which first of all is just word vomit. Like that word, like you stick man and explain together, and it makes it bad instantly. Which I mean, of course, there are words before that seem to be not that bad in terms of their etymology, but when combined, they mean something worse, which I don't really care for. But just the word mansplain is just why would you sing that? That's such a like there's so many words that sound so much prettier, which I guess you're trying to get a message across of like something gross, but it's a guy explaining something to you. Yeah, the message here is just muddy, just all the way through. The song totally deals in absolutes, which pleb tier Reddit memes will tell you is a bad thing. Also, the instrumentals here are violins being plucked, and I was so confused by it. I'm like, why would you give up the entire purpose of your album for this song here? Also, the song is only 2 minutes and 40 seconds. I think Dua Lipa realized that the chorus was nothing to write home about. It's just boys will be, boys will be, boys will be, boys will be boys, and girls will be women, which, ew. Like, one, you're dealing in absolutes there. Two, it's a little sexist, which you could make the argument that you need to be dominant to be racist or sexist or anything like that. I'm not going to get into that. But just the fact that you're dealing in absolutes is just like, well, all women are great, but all boys are just boys. Which, in a generalization like that, kind of shows that you're not mature yourself. Yeah, I sort of was okay with the first verse, at least the message of it, but just the contrast with the second verse, it's just very uncomfortable. It's just kind of a poorly portrayed song. And the fact that this is the shortest track on the album, it comes across as kind of phoned in, kind of ham-fisted, and not very strong. It feels a bit like a cash grab, even though Dua Lipa said that it was as a song she needed to do, which I understand. But why do you cram several themes about women's rights into one song that isn't even as long as your other songs? If you're going to explain a problem this big, I'd expect a much longer song. Like, bad analogy here, but Push It by Tool. 9.5 minute song, as far as I can remember. Great song. It's about a guy being abused in a relationship that isn't working. That is one theme explored in depth. Meanwhile, Dua Lipa, you've got like 6 or 7 songs here about breakups, getting heartbroken, love in general. Why can't you explore such important themes in that many songs? Of course, not that I want to agree with those themes in the first place. I'm digressing a lot here, but I could go on and on and on about how many problems this song raises. Like, 1, in context of the album, it doesn't work. 2, instrumentals in context of the album, doesn't work. 3, the song is a little hypocritical, and I could keep going, but those are probably the general topics here that are problems with the song. Anywho, to determine how I'm going to rate this album, what I've seen is that while on the B-side there was a good 4 tracks-ish in a row, and Don't Stop Now, obviously everyone loves, I found that the explorations into glitch, disco, synthwave, synth pop, and funk were really, really good ideas. I think that in the future, you could probably even go further into that. There was, well, granted, you didn't explore much of them much in this album, but in terms of an idea, it's a good idea. But unfortunately, almost nothing on this album is given time to build like it should. None of it's given time to marinate. None of it's given to be considered more. Unfortunately, I can't say all these explorations into these different genres and any sort of build is given to any other track. And with instrumentals that become kind of old towards the end of it, and with lyrics that don't necessarily break any ground, which is somewhat remedied by the vocals just sounding good, in general, the album comes across as a little bit weaker for me. I like some songs, but as a whole, the album is a sneed. Just not my favorite. Is it terrible? It by no means is it terrible. In fact, some people out there might love this album, but just for me, it's not great. And so I'm sure some of you watching this video would be, oh, Duke, you don't even like pop music. There's no way you could rate this album properly. I've liked several of these songs here. I love glitch pop. I liked a lot of what Miranda Cosgrove was doing. Rock totally diverged straight into pop in the 90s, so a ton of that I enjoy a lot. Lady Gaga, I'm a big fan of. And yeah, she's a little more avant-garde and definitely weird, but I still think she's good. Some boy band songs have a soft spot in my heart, like Larger Than Life by Backstreet Boys. I will turn that song on every once in a while just because I enjoy it. Even Big Time Rush, they had a few hits that I enjoyed a lot. Anywho, I think that about wraps it up for how I'm going to discuss Future Nostalgia. I'd love to hear what you guys thought about this album. Go ahead and comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And totally ask me to review stuff. I will maybe comply. I'm not guaranteeing anything. I have one more request that I'm covering next week until I cover another chart. And I hope you guys have a good day.